DJ PK, we're joined by Chris Hill. He is in studio, the former Utah athletic director. Alex Jensen, who was a player when you were the AD, sure. And we all got to know him. He was around for 4 years, and then he came back with the Jazz and was in town even longer. He's back as a head coach now, and I'm really curious what you think, reasonable good goals are, because I don't think you'll want to undersell it because you want the U to be good and you get better by being good, so why undersell it? You don't want to oversell it and put him in a bad spot.
Right.
So what is realistic?
Well, I think what realistic is, I don't know what's going on right now, but I would say a year or so from now, get in the middle of the league, maybe up a little bit, where you're having a chance to get in the NCAA tournament. As fast as players come in and out, I want to know who's on his team this year. You know what I mean? If I knew who was on his team, I might change my expectations. But I think just him going in as a guy that, it's been a little rough sledding. He can get in. He'll get some players. He'll coach them up, and, they'll start to move up in the league. Will they be 1 and 2? That's really hard, and who knows? People get upset all the time, and, injuries like it happened to the poor situation with Kyle and the football team, But I think the middle of the league early on, and then maybe get in the top 3 or 4 and take a run here or there. But, like we were just saying, if he has a great player, he could be losing that guy right away.
You look at what happened. Smith, the guard from last year.
Yeah.
And Craig Smith brings him in. Now the kid, he had a track record of moving around, and then he goes to St. John's for Pitino, and they lose out. And then you hear about, I assume you heard that quote from the BYU booster, "You will not outbid us," and we know what they're doing, and we see that, if you believe the reports out of Baylor, that the kid had committed to return the guard, and BYU goes in and gives him more money. So he's coming here, and his statements that he had made, well, I want to go in an NBA developmental program. Well, BYU has 0 players in the NBA. I realize it's a new administration, but rather than focus on BYU's lack of NBA players, focus on Baylor's number of NBA players, and they ran a good program. But in the end, money talks, and people thought the kid, Dallin Hall, the local kid, when he transferred over, put his name in the transfer portal, that it was going to be, that Russian kid, Yegor Demon, is coming back. That's what it must mean. And no, that's not what it means. He knows that kid, of course, is going to go take the money, because they all do, and that Kevin Young is going to recruit somebody over Dallin Hall that we don't know yet, and then we find out a week or two later that it's the kid from Baylor coming in. He's a 5-star, yada, yada, and all that. I'm just wondering, a long way of saying, do you believe that Utah will have the money to compete? Because that's what it is boiled down to. It doesn't boil down to coach them up anymore.
No, it doesn't respond to that. I think they'll do well. I know when Alex came in, he and I talked off before and about, at least get a certain number you're going to get from, NIL. I mean, that's what coaches, they train's job. They're going to look at the administration and say, what do I have to work with?
Yes.
Now, BYU's in a different situation because they do have a very wealthy group of folks, and that can spend their money on that and want to be aligned. If you're LDS in the state of Utah, you want to be aligned with the LDS Church, and you want to be aligned with BYU. That's status and whatever. And if you could be a player to make changes in football, basketball, I can see them doing it. But yeah, I don't know how a kid, and we all know that I'm repeating myself, and you guys said this a million times, so I'll be quick. But I mean, you're a kid, and your mom's making $30,000 a year, like Andre Miller's mom was making. That's on the high end, and all of a sudden they're going to give you $1 million, and you're looking at your mom saying, that's not bad.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
How many years would that take my mom to make $1 million? So
her
I don't
whole
blame
life.
the players. That's
No.
why it's got to change, because it's silly. It's really because the players aren't worth that. I mean, you're telling me a second-string offensive lineman at Stanford's worth more than a $75,000 scholarship? But people have fallen asleep on that. They're just saying, okay, we'll just pay him. We got the money. It's free money. It's not like it's costing anybody else.
Right.
So it's tough to watch them buy people. I think they should be paid. I don't have any problem with that. I just think there needs to be some kind of make sense of, if you're running a business, I think at the end of the day, you're supposed to be reasonable. And if it doesn't help you make money, a profit, then you don't pay more than that. That's how it is. But this is kind of emotional, paying people.
There's a couple things that are happening here. I think that Alex will run up against it. He has no coach controls. They're just bigger. With the players moving every year,
right.
I've heard from multiple fans, including one yesterday. I don't know who these guys are.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who these guys are. And when we were talking about the era Alex played in, literally everybody knew who everybody was. And it's different because, there'd be a beat writer like PK writing features on everyone, so you literally got to know everybody's story. They were doing Sunday night show interviews, and all that stuff's off the table.
Was this a Ute fan who said that to you?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it was, because they're not winning. The BYU people, they don't care that they didn't get to know them because they went to the Sweet 16. It all boils down to winning.
Yes. So leading up to this, you say about not coaching them up.
Right.
And I think you can coach them up within the year. Now that multi-year arc is a problem.
Right.
But Ken Pomeroy comes in studio with us from kenpom.com, right? You're on the NCAA selection committee. You know how they use his formulas, right? And so he told us, he said 10-10 in the Big 10, 10-10 in the Big 12 might get you in the tournament, and 11-9 will if you play an even borderline representative non-conference season, which the Utes didn't this year.
Right.
Assuming Alex changes that, they're 8-12. They give up 80 points or more 10 times this year.
Yeah.
I think Rick Majerus taught everyone how to play basketball, and I've heard multiple players say, they must all say it when they talk to each other, he ruined the game for us because they can't watch a game without seeing there's no help defense from the next guy. Right. There's no big man sliding over. Like you're spacing. This guy can't drive to the hoop because you don't stay in the corner. You want the ball, so you come 1 step, 2 steps closer. Now you don't have room to drive anymore. Manson went 1 for 11 against BYU. And the shot he hit in the overtime win was a tough 3 off one leg that was I think Alex is going to change all that. So I don't see they're 8-12 in conference this year. To me, 10-10, 11-9, 12-8 is doable. The whole 15-5 getting to third in the league, that seems like a reach.
Yeah, it's a reach because of who's going to be on your team.
Right.
Alex, when he said everybody has a model program and he likes Houston. And you can see that in his mind because Houston's like a killer defensively.
Unbelievable.
So you can see him. But, of course, then you're going to get Louis that comes in the game and the coach takes him out for defense and he calls his agent and goes, "Are you kidding me? I'm supposed to play defense? I didn't know that." So it's going to be hard. But I think once you get the players on your team that year, I think you can do some good things with coaching them up. But at the same time, I don't know if there's that many coaches that really have grown up with the detail. You talk about the details of Rick. I mean, every player says, they've been in the pros, that I learned so much more from Rick. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, I learned a ton.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
For 10 years. I mean, if I go to my basketball knowledge, 95% of it came from him.
Well, and part of that is, and he helped, whether he knew it or not, he reinforced things I knew in my job, defining roles. And being proud of your role. I mean, he ripped Josh Grant once in practice for giving up an open shot because McKay McGrath gave up his body for you, and how selfish can you be? Blah, blah, blah. Well, McKay's sitting there knowing his role is valuable.
Right.
And Rick could do that. I mean, there are a lot of things about him. I mean, there were a lot of other things, but, he was – that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're exactly what you're saying, David. Exactly.
And I think you can just tighten the nuts and bolts down and find a few more wins.
Yeah.
A few, not a lot.
Yeah,
but a few.
I just don't know if that's good enough for Utah fans, especially if BYU is doing what they're doing. Rather than focus specifically on Utah, what form of reform do you think the sport needs? Because we tolerate football, but it seems like basketball has really gone off the guardrail.
Yeah, people don't get it that nobody's coming to games around the country. They'll turn on the game at Kansas or at Duke, which has a 9,000-seat place or something like that. They'll think, "Oh, why aren't we doing it?" You watch Oklahoma State this year, who had packed houses, and you look in their stands and nobody's there.
Yeah.
Well, we talked before about, I think basketball is the one that's in biggest trouble because you fall in love with the players. You see a guy that comes in as a freshman, you see him there, and in basketball you can see their faces.
Yep.
And you can
Football's
see them
anonymous
hug each other
under a helmet.
And so you fall in love. I mean, it's not the NBA. You don't come to watch a perfect game in college. You come to watch your team win, and that's my guys, and they look like me, and that's how they identify with their team. But I think basketball, especially because the postseason means so much more, that it's in trouble. It's in trouble.
But then they say the almighty TV ratings were up tremendously in March.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying March isn't everything. So the fans during the year, and you're having to sell tickets at your own place, and people aren't coming. So,
But yet the Marriott Center was packed.
Yeah, but again, that's what people – Marriott Center, Kansas. I mean, there weren't 50 that were packed. I can tell you that,
It's more like 10 or 20 schools drawing.
Yeah, that are really drawn and actually showing up, And BYU has always been pretty good with their crowds. Let's be honest.
They have,
almost
absolutely.
any sport. I mean, you look at almost any sport, they'll have people at the soccer game and the volleyball game.
Right,
I mean, they have a really loyal group. Now, we would have snide marks when we make at Utah about why they have large crowds, but we won't do that.
Well, yeah, they're there.
I'm not there. Yeah.
But they spend money and they go buy tickets, whatever it might be, and so forth and so on. I just see the sport. I agree with you 100% that there needs to be, of all the sports, basketball. At least if Stanford is going to play Clemson in football, you can leave on a Thursday night and be back Saturday.
Oh yeah.
But basketball, every other week, taking all these other sports too, across country all the time. We saw both LA coaches complain about the travel this season.
Yeah, the women's coach had all these big plans she did and everything. But the trouble was, you go into a Big Ten, they're used to playing on, because of TV, a Wednesday and a Saturday. Mm-hmm. So it's not one trip. Well,
right.
In the Pac-12, you'd go on a Thursday and Saturday or Friday and Sunday, and you'd be in the Bay Area and just take a bus ride to the next game.
Yeah.
Now you're going to fly, to Minnesota and then come back and play a game. Then they made some accommodations for that, but that's really tough. TV Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, those type of things.
Yeah, the NBA's taken over Thursdays.
Yeah,
and so college basketball has gone away from that whole Thursday, Saturday deal.
Yeah, it's just been hard, and it's like, the TV ratings, although they're up in March, as we know, when I used to be there, it was like, TV was 70% of the money. Now it's 75, 80, 85 of the money that ESPN is paying. They know they're paying for football. And by the way, we'll take 10% of the money is for basketball in the big leagues.
Do you think that 2-year contracts are out of the realm?
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Well, because then a kid, if he just re-ups one time, is there all 4 years, and we're back where we know everybody. And even so, 2 years gives you a little something. But literally from year to year, the rosters are changing so much now. 2-year deals would at least slow that down.
Well, they need to go back what we were talking about earlier. Is they need to have contracts, need to have a collective bargaining, need to do all that. The thing that makes me bristle a little bit, because you media guys like to say this, that, the coach can leave every year, he can do whatever he wants. Well, the university he's left is going to get $6 million. So if you're having your fourth guy on your team that you're paying $100,000 and all of a sudden he leaves, well, would he leave if he had to pay, $5 million?
So there are buyouts in there.
The buyouts are in there. Yeah. And so, although the coaches don't pay it and they can leave from place to place,
but somebody pays it.
Somebody pays.
I mean, Utah State's gone through a bunch of basketball coaches, but they only fired the first one. The rest have all left, and there have been buyouts, and they've gotten money.
Yeah, so if a player leaves, that's another thing, that collective bargaining. Does that change? Another school's looking at so-and-so and saying, we want to get him, Oh, geez, I don't know if we want to pay $2 million for that.
Well, we see this with the Arkansas situation, Arkansas, the Nikos who goes from Tennessee to UCLA, his younger brother who went to Arkansas now wants to go join him.
Yep.
And Arkansas AD says that those collective people are trying to reclaim $200,000 because he just got there in January and he's already gone. And he got money and literally didn't play it down. He's just been in school for one semester, so I want my money back.
Yeah, there's a bad side of all this, and I'm repeating myself, but I understand players getting paid. I have no problem with that. There's no semblance of order to it. And what about agents out there? I mean, you got high school kids that have agents.
They do,
and they can do. And then, does this family know anything about dealing with agents? Agents or whatever, I have a little bone of contention there because they're out just to, get what they can get, and that's their job. But does a family pay 25% of the contract a kid gets? I don't know. They don't know. And so there's a lot of things about it that make it tough. And if I were somebody paying all that money, I'd say, wait a minute. I'm going to pay $1 million, and then I'm going to pay $1 million next year if the kid's not doing well, or I'm paying $1 million and he just left. You know, that's going to be hard. And I can see people wanting to get their money back.
Right.
Or they won't give it. So they're kind of saying, the AD, that's fine. You got my first $1 million, but you're not getting any more because how I was burned.
And that's what I was wondering on that. You know, the Eccles can slap their name on the beautiful football facility, right, when they needed it desperately, and it's a top-notch facility. We've all been in it. And then the basketball facility with the Huntsmans, they needed that, and that's beautiful too. But how do you go to boosters then every year? Because you do that, and that building will be there for, you know, and it'll be functionable for multiple decades. But these kids come and go. Are they going to? Is this model any form of being able to be sustained in terms of you have to then, as you just said, every year put in the money? We're all caught up in it now, but where's it going to be?
Yeah, it's tough, and that's why, you know, and I'm not a whiner because I'm not in it. So sometimes here's to retirement.
Yeah.
Hey, I sit with Greg and my wife and Megan, Mars, and Liz, and we get together once in a while, and invariably the conversation goes, here's to retirement, you know. And I don't know if it's sustainable, but we've been saying that for so long that it's not sustainable. And yet it keeps happening, but then schools fall off the map and whatever. But, you know, they've got to get control of it somehow, and people will be paid enough, and it'll be negotiated out. And as we said off air, I don't know. I think the NFL's not a bad operation.
No,
I don't think so.
No. So go and do that. Learn from them.
Yeah, why wait? Why waste time in between? Because you know it's going to be a law. Somebody's going to get sued again. You know, right? Even with
this whole thought that the house settlement, the schools are going to pay directly, and then NIL is going to be regulated, and there's going to be somebody deciding what market value is. That to me just screams there's going to be lawsuits, and it's going to be the same thing. Basically, you're trying to limit somebody's income. And how'd that work for the NCAA when they had that limited earnings coach in the late 80s, early 90s? That third coach, they won a class action lawsuit. They all got back pay.
Right. The NCAA just keeps so slow, and so they know. That's why it's been a mess, because 15 years ago we should have been paying players. And they just hold it out, and they get sued and sued and sued. And, you know, they're over on all this stuff. So what makes them think they can control things?
Well, Chris, we appreciate the hour. Thanks for coming down and letting people know where you see this going and what you hear. And you get the TV side because your son works for ESPN, so you're still hearing stuff occasionally.
Well, I know. Excuse me. I don't know. He knows more than I ever thought of knowing, and it's kind of fun to talk to him about it. But I appreciate you having me. I don't have answers. I'm, like I said, a retired guy that hangs out and enjoys myself. So
there you go.
Anyway,
all right. Thanks for the time, Chris. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Chris Hill, former Utah athletic director, joining us in studio this morning right here on 97.5 The Zone. Also joining us in studio this morning,
my grandkids play.
The guys from Providence Hall, Nathan and Austin.
Judge.
And they are here because you got some new facilities, you got an open house, and you're talking to prospective students and their families.
Yeah, we invite anyone who's interested in learning a little bit more about our schools. The junior high has an open house from 6 to 7 today. And then the high school will have an open house from 7 to 8. It's, you know, we're just going to have just an opportunity for you to learn about what we do. And we also have an event tomorrow where we have a play-in game for soccer, but we invite people to come out. We're going to have conversations with people about what our school's about. And, you know, one of the things that I'm really specifically proud of our school is just our performance on our AP exams and, you know, our performance in the classroom. And, you know, we got the silver medallion for being a part of the AP Scholars Program, and we offer a wide suite of both AP concurrent enrollment and some really outstanding CTE pathways. So we provide that full holistic education opportunity.
You should explain to people what concurrent enrollment is, because some people know, but some do not.
Yeah, that's a good point. So thankfully in the state of Utah, there's a great relationship between the local universities and high schools, and you can take high school classes that are actually college-based classes in your
so you can
schedule.
Get college credits while you're
Correct.
in high school.
Yep. You take those classes and they transfer to the local universities in the state of Utah.
So that'll make college a little easier.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go for one semester less or take a lighter load.
Absolutely.
If you're adapting as a freshman.
and
Which I had to
be
do.
able to have
Adaptation was difficult, let me tell you.
Also, you get you a little bit further ahead. Tuition's expensive.
It is, yeah.
Concurrent enrollments, very, very cheap. $40, $50 for registration fee versus whatever the tuition's going to be at the university. So we have a lot of our student athletes and students just collectively who participate in our activities and sports, but really lean into the academics, and it really opens a lot of doors.
Yeah. And on the athletic side of things, you got a lot of teams. You said you don't have the swimming and diving programs, but other than that, you've got pretty much everything, right? You've been adding sports?
Yeah. In fact, this is our inaugural boys volleyball season. We just added boys volleyball, and we're looking at other things down the road, maybe some esports as well. That's become a very popular thing. And yeah, we're just, our goal is always to give those opportunities to kids. I think that's should be the goal of a smaller, like a 3A school is, hey, come here for the opportunities to participate in extracurricular activities for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, website, phone number, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you jump on our website, www.providencehall.com, you can learn about our school. There's some more information about enrollment if you're interested in participating. Free public charter school. And you also can call our front office, 801-727-8260.
DJ and PK, they're the guys from Providence Hall. You can reach out to them. We're going to take a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, next.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number of...
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real 2-for-1. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com.
DJ and PK, it is time to get you slackers up to date on everything you missed in this show. You missed a lot of college sports in this show. Slacker Radio Hotline is brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Chris Hill in studio for an hour. Tom Homo on the phone for 10 minutes. Tom's still working. That's all the time he had. But he does seem open to longer conversations later when he's retired. He said he'd have more time.
There's a couple things that he and I have discussed doing upon his retirement, and I'm going to hold him to both of them.
Is one of them golf?
I will not confirm or deny.
Concerts. We know. You talk about your passions. There can't be that many.
No, I think you already hit on it.
Dinner at Cafe Rio. What else?
Yeah, you got it covered. It's funny in that, there's a similar theme. And Chris and Tom have a lot of respect for each other. I already knew that. You probably already knew it too. So they have a lot of similar thoughts and ideas about how the athletic directorship is supposed to be run, and you're supposed to be a behind-the-scenes guy, and both those guys did it in a manner that allowed them to be very effective. And we all admit that college sports is in such a great upheaval and needs significant change, significant platforms to allow it to thrive, to allow as many programs as possible to thrive and all. And you can, even if you want to go to an extreme, you can sum it up and say, oh my gosh, it's just a mess. But yet at the same time, man, I am so excited to see what Dampier brings to this Utah offense, and can Retzlaff improve his completion percentage that A-Rod wants, and how are they going to be able to have an encore for that great season that they had last year. So even though we're all over here saying, oh, there's got to be all this change. I mean, what are we doing here? This is crazy, all the stuff that's going on. Over here we're thinking, I'm super excited for the season and seasons. What's Dabonza going to do? Is he going to take the world by storm? We talked about Jimmer earlier and how he announced his formal retirement from high-level professional competitive basketball. And can Dabonza recreate that to an extent in his own year, his lone season? We're all going to be excited. And Alex Jensen, let's see, Alex Jensen is loved by, everyone. And so how's he going to do? We're all going to want him to have success. And what is he going to be able to field as far as his team and everything, blah, blah, blah. So even though we're over here not necessarily complaining about it.
No,
some would
complaining.
Say,
no, I think that's
okay,
right. I think that's right.
Okay.
There's a lot of people complaining.
But yet we're super, at least I think you are too, and me.
It's
and
not
Yak,
just you
we're
and
excited.
me. It's the American people. Those
American people, I love that.
You hate to talk about TV ratings, but they were really good for football. They were excellent for basketball. Football,
I
you
love
don't have any,
TV ratings now that I'm in TV.
Yeah, you're lukewarm on them at best. But
I keep cashing the checks, so who am I?
Fact. The popularity.
And they're just enormous checks. The amount of money TV people make, I wish you would have gotten me into it a lot sooner.
The popularity, he says, just moving on.
Well, it's the truth.
The popularity is just nothing seems to slow it down.
You see the threads I wear, man, when I go out to the disco on Friday?
That's a nice hoodie, actually.
I mean, geez, I am looking great. The amount
disco.
of gold chains.
You out there.
I never even had any.
You out there lip syncing to
Now I've got them all over the place.
Earth, Wind, and Fire and Dawn of Summer.
The wheels that I drive, man.
The wheels.
Yeah.
Nice kicks. Yeah, because just disgusted by all this. He just looked at the clock to see if he could make us go to break and push the reset button, but it's just too early.
When I put my top down and I'm cruising through Palm Springs, life is good.
We'll probably get to this closer to college hoop season, but I was just talking to Chris Hill about Alex's ability to squeeze, even if the roster is very similar. I mean, the people will change, but the roster can be similar as far as talent level. I think he can squeeze 2, 3, 4 more wins out of him, which gets him the NCAA tournament. And you said that's not good enough because of what's going on down at BYU. That's not going to be good enough for you fans.
And for Utah themselves.
Because they want back to the Elite
The
Eight.
90s are not that old, long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these other guys just printing money. Yeah.
So great, he'll do it, but it won't satisfy the thirst. Temporarily, it might.
If that's the situation. I don't know if that'll be the situation. How do I know that they won't get more money? And he'll look to recruit the type of kids, particularly if they're local and want to stay. That I'm not going to limit what Alex Jensen can do at the University of Utah basketball, and partially fully admitting that I want to have him have enormous success.
As you said, everybody who knows him likes him.
I was the beat writer his freshman year, 30 years ago.
But even people who don't know him from that era, like Scotty G is younger than us, right? Mm-hmm. So he doesn't have that era, but he knows him from the Jazz era. And if Scotty G was in here, he'd be telling you how much he likes Alex.
Oh, I think he knows him some personally, too, for some
other reasons.
Geographical affiliations.
Exactly.
On Sundays. Everybody, he's a universally beloved guy. There's no doubt about it. And so let's have him have success and all that. And so maybe winning will breed more infusion of cash or something. I'm not sure.
It could. It's not out of the realm.
And so we'll have to see. And there could be, well, not could be, there will be changes that we sit here today that we can't forecast. And this house settlement, having spoken, now those coaches are not around, but at least at BYU, they really believed when the house settlement came that they would be able to use that to their advantage. Now everything has blown up since, which is just like 2-3 years ago.
You mentioned the Kentucky money earlier in the show. These stories that Kentucky spending $20 million. So last year, $10 million was supposed to be the peak, and the year before that, $5 million was the peak. This is exploding exponentially. It's changing every year dramatically.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, guys, BYU is going to have to pay a lot to get Colin Chandler to come back to Provo.
Hey, Colin, what's it going to take?
See, now I can get away with saying that when you say so much crap.
You can say, yeah. I was just letting that marinate. Just let it marinate.
Tamper you down there.
As he says more stuff.
These are great times, man. These are great times for sports radio. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you talk about who said that? I pinch myself. Somebody just said that recently about their job. Was it Kevin Young? He might have said it. I pinch myself that I'm doing this. Yeah, I pinch myself that I'm doing this. I've been doing it for 23 years.
Nice.
And look at all the changes we've seen. during that time. And did it seem like when Chris Hill was talking about when he goes out with the gymnastics coaches, the Marstons, and he goes out with Liz Abel, and they talk about old times, didn't that seem so quaint and naive and innocent?
It wasn't.
I know, but didn't it seem it?
But relatively speaking,
I was conjuring up in my mind.
With football teams spending $40 million and basketball teams spending $20 million, yes, it seems innocent. There was money changing hands back when you could buy an elite player for $100,000.
But they had headaches then.
I think there's 2 specific stories you have about that number that you can't share on the air.
Yeah. That's why I always said it was always happening.
Right.
I came on.
But $100,000 is one thing. What do you get for $100,000 now? That's what you invest in guy 12 and say, hey, get better. You need a year in the weight room of the strength and conditioning. You get the whole field. You go through the practices. In a year, you're going to be much better, and then we'll talk about something else.
Yeah.
That's just a down payment in big programs now.
Absolutely. I told you, and I've told this story, an athletic administrator told me, not in town, told me when we were down in Vegas for Pac-12 or Big 12 media days, and they're all there, and we get to talking, and one guy, here, this guy, he's been around, you look at my face, he's an old dude, so I look like I got a trustworthy face, and we're just talking over eating, and he says to me, yeah, our team lost a backup infielder who's a, quote, punch and Judy hitter for $250,000. He went to another school in case they have an injury.
That's baseball money, people.
Yeah.
Now there's some dad or uncle out there saying, I'm going to get Junior and get him to the cage. $250,000 for a punch and Judy hitter. Let's go, Junior, into the batting cage.
Yeah, quote, and we all know what punch and Judy. It's an old expression.
It's
that's a light singles hitter is what you're talking about.
Yep, some guys.
And he said they went and they took him just to be a backup in case they had an injury.
And in case you're wondering, last year at the College World Series, it was 4 SEC teams and 4 ACC teams. It was not a national tournament. It was an ACC-SEC challenge. So I can pretty much guess who's got the money to do that. And you haven't told me. So, but I'll bet it was an ACC.
I don't want to give it up.
No, I get it. But I bet it was an ACC or SEC school. Because look where they're going.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 and the Pac-12 used to have awesome baseball. Now the Pac-12's falling apart. We all know that. But the Big 12 and the Pac-12 used to have awesome baseball, and they used to have lots of College World Series teams and all that. And all of a sudden, it's an ACC-SEC production.
Yes, I attended probably 25 to 30 ASU baseball games when I was in high school and then when I went there.
Yeah.
It was the six-pack, they called it, from the teams that they played, and it was just,
it was the Arizona schools, the California schools, those 6.
It was awesome.
The Oregon and Washingtons did their own thing.
Yeah.
That was the NORPAC.
Right.
Just looking up Colin Chandler, just checking in. 10 minutes, 2.7 points per game.
Well, he's just a freshman.
I know. Yeah. At a school where they bring in juniors and seniors with big money.
Yeah. That was just fun.
I know it was.
Because everyone, them tampering now is the hot topic.
Yep. Shot 35% from 3. Okay. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. You can submit your nominations at kslsports.com/contest. And then listen every Thursday. Is that the right one? Yeah, listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner, right? How about that? You can do it. And it is sponsored by, you know who? Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ PK, it's time for your feedback. Had Chris Hill in studio for an hour, Tom Homo on the phone for a segment. Got to talk to both of them about where college sports could be going. Go Utes at Soapy Wings. Listening to David DJ James. Don't normally, but it was on.
I love the way you read it, and it's so full of crap, too. Not the way you read it, the context.
I don't normally listen, but it was on. As if someone magically...
We always hear that.
I know.
We're 23 years into this. Screw you.
Whatever, dude. The discussion is if the big schools keep pushing out everyone but the Big Ten and the SEC, the rest of the country will tune out and the sport will die. I agree.
I don't believe it'll die. I just believe there'll be tremendous pushback, which is why I believe that sanity will prevail.
I think sanity will prevail because I do think they lament the number of viewers that they could have in the Northeast that they don't. And I think that when they're sitting around with nothing to do, they projected how much money they could get, but they don't. I think they've done the same thing with the math. How much money will they not get in this part of the country? And every league individually has made their own decision. We were talking about how everybody doesn't copy the NFL, but they should, right? The NFL has cracked the code unlike anybody else. Revenue-wise, everybody's chasing them. But the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, I don't care, whatever league, they've all realized, yeah, most of the people are in the East, but we need 6, 7, 8 teams out in these 8 to 10 markets. We're not really a national league, and we don't maximize our money. And right now, college football, if the Big Ten and the SEC run off and do their own thing, they'll have 4 teams in 3 markets. And that is a terrible business model.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, and obviously I have bias in these 2 places, but I believe the Arizonas and BYU and Utah 1,000% deserve to be on the inside.
Stanford and Cal?
Yes.
Colorado?
Well,
they're going to need a team in Denver.
I would go with Colorado, yes.
Yeah.
I don't
but
have
I
a
think
problem with
Colorado,
that.
Salt Lake, Phoenix, San Francisco, those 4 markets. And, and other leagues have gone in and made money. Sacramento, Vegas, San Diego. There are other markets in the West.
Too, for that matter.
Right. But nobody goes everywhere. Everybody misses some market, right? Baseball isn't in Salt Lake City right now. Basketball isn't in Seattle right now. Hockey isn't in Phoenix. San Diego has baseball only. Well, they have MLS, I guess, now. But they don't have NHL, NBA, the NFL left. So everybody doesn't have to go everywhere. But you can't have Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, 4 teams, 3 markets. That's not good enough if college football is going to be a national sport. And I think they know that. And I think they know that. I'm also intrigued as they go to streaming. Some schools that's where the size of the state doesn't matter so much. The passion of the population matters much. How many people will subscribe to whoever it is who ends up buying up all this stuff in 2030, 2035, 2040?
If they win.
But who will buy it all the time?
If they win.
Even if they don't win all the time. And if they win sometimes. Because most people don't win all the time.
Then Stanford and Cal are in trouble.
Agreed. But the passion that exists here for BYU and Utah could be way more powerful in the streaming universe.
Yeah, and it should be.
Yeah. DJ, PK, and the guys from Providence Hall are here talking about their school, Providence Hall in Harriman. And guys, you've been here all morning talking about this, about what you've got that might appeal to someone out there when they're looking at their kid, trying to think, where does my kid fit? What is best? What have you got that you have to offer? And go.
Ooh. Wow, that's a lot of pressure there, but yeah. So we've talked about it a lot, but just the opportunity. We offer the academics, we offer the supports for the students, we offer the full suite of those things that you would find in a traditional public school. I think the difference is the opportunity that it gives for students to be able to not only excel in the classroom, but be able to participate in sports and activities in a way that really sets them apart. And
do you find kids who would be second string in a lot of sports? I mean, some sports everybody gets to play, right? There are some of those, track, I think, is one sport that's famous for that, where, there really is a role for everybody. But some of the sports, only a limited number of kids can get on the field. Do you find that people will come to your school looking for opportunity there when they're on the bench, standing on the sideline somewhere else?
100%. And we do find we get a lot of those kids that just say, hey, I want opportunities to participate. I want playing time. I want to be able to go somewhere where, I want to play basketball. I also want to play some baseball. I want to play football. And that's, we get a lot of those kids and we love it. We want those kids that want to thrive in that environment.
Do you have a lot of kids playing multiple sports?
We do. My own son is 3-sport athlete.
Wrestling and football, buddy. Just look at them.
And shot put or discus?
Shot put. I mean, come on.
Okay.
It's more manly.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, but I think that highlights one of the advantages is it really does give students the opportunity to do that, to be a multi-sport. Yep. And to do activities too, right? To be on student council and be in theater and do music and debate.
Guitar. You got to sell the guitar program one more time.
Guitar is just absolutely off the charts. Yeah, we go to state every year. It's just you get to learn the tool, but you get to learn it in a unique way. Our teacher's phenomenal. Just a great culture. It's just great.
Now, I knew there were a lot of state competitions. I didn't know there was state guitar.
There is.
Okay. Well, live and learn. There you go. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you want to jump on our website, www.providencehall.com, you can learn a lot more about our school and the enrollment opportunities, but feel free to give us a call, 801-727-8260. And then we have our open houses tonight at the junior high at 6 p.m., and the high school starts at 7.
Nathan's the executive director. Austin's the athletic director. Guys, we appreciate you coming in studio. Thanks for joining us all morning long.
Thank you.
Jake and Ben are up next right here on The Zone.